Hare Krishna. We will continue our overview of Sri Isopanisad with the invocation and the mantras 1 to 3. In the invocation, it is explained that the Lord and His energies are perfect and complete. Mantra 1 explains the Ishavasya principle. That means the Lord is the proprietor, He is the owner of everything. Mantra 2 explains what will happen if we follow this principle in our life, what beneficial results we will gain. And Mantra 3 explains what will happen if we decide to disregard the Ishavasya concept, if we decide to disregard reality and act whimsically. What will happen then? So let's start with the invocation. The Lord and His energies are perfect and complete. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete in two ways. First, He is the complete absolute truth, Bhagavan, Satchitananda Vigraha. That means that the realization of the impersonal Brahman or of Paramatma, the Supersoul, is incomplete realization of the absolute, complete, supreme truth. This is because the realization of the impersonal Brahman is realization of only his Sat feature, the eternity feature. And the Paramatma realization is realization of his Sat and Chit features, the aspects of eternity and knowledge. But realization of the personality of Godhead is realization of the all three transcendental features, the Sat, Chit and Ananda, bliss. So, as Srila Prabhupada points out, when one realizes the Supreme Person, he realizes these aspects of the Absolute Truth in their completeness. So, this was number one. Number two, the energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that means the material creation and the living entities are also perfect and complete. So, the Supreme Absolute Truth, Bhagavan, He is the last word of the transcendental realization. And also His energies are perfect and complete. That means that the universe has all facilities to function properly, and therefore, as Srila Prabhupada explains, no other unit in the universe need make any extraneous effort to try to maintain the universe. The universe is already perfect by itself because it originates from a perfect source, the Supreme Lord. All facilities are given to the living beings as well, so that they can realize the complete whole. The human form of life is a complete manifestation of the consciousness of the living being, and thus enables him to achieve the ultimate perfection of life. The human life has value only when it is dovetailed with the complete whole. If disengaged from the service to the Supreme, then the living entities cannot be happy. The perfection of the Lord is additionally understood as the perfectness of His avatars, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains in his commentary to this invocation mantra. The perfect avatari and the perfect avatara are complete, and they are endowed with all energies. From the perfect avatari, which is Krishna, appears the perfect avatars for the purpose of spreading the pastimes of the Lord. In no circumstance is there a diminution of the perfection of the Supreme Lord. Mantra 1. Mantra 1, as we already mentioned, explains the Ishavasya principle. The Supreme Personality of Godhead owns, controls, and pervades both the cosmic creation and the living beings. Knowing this, one should not claim false proprietorship over anything and should accept only his allotted quota. So this kind of consciousness, Ishavasya, is the only way by which humanity can achieve peace, as Sri Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita, in the famous shloka. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Of course, the atheists do not accept the principle of Ishavasya because they think that just by assembling and manipulating the material elements, they become their rightful proprietors. Of course, this is simply untrue. For example, as Srila Prabhupada points out, our dwelling, which is made of earth, wood, stone, iron, cement, and so many other material things, if we think in terms of Sri Isopanisad, or this Ishavasya concept, we must know that we cannot produce any of these building materials ourselves. We can simply bring them together and transform them into different shapes by our labor. A laborer cannot claim to be the proprietor of anything just because he has worked hard to manufacture it or to assemble it. This Ishavasya principle can be applied in different ways according to the level of the performer of spiritual advancement. For the demigod worshippers, for example, this Ishavasya would mean that they perform the authorized Vedic rituals to please the devatas, the demigods. And for the devotees, it will mean that they fully dedicate to their devotional service to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada warns us that unless we strictly abide by this Ishavasya principle, we will be considered thieves. In his purports to Sri Isopanisad, Srila Prabhupada suggests yet another aspect of this Ishavasya consciousness. To accept only one's allotted quota stands not merely for taking as much resources as required. It also means that the living entity should follow the specific plan the Lord has designed for him. That means we should play our role in the society. We should understand what is our duty in terms of varnashrama and follow this duty in order to please the Lord. Disregarding this Ishavasya principle has a disastrous effect for both the society and the individuals. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, if human society unlawfully claims that the property of the universe, either partially or wholly, belongs to mankind, all of human society will be cursed as a society of thieves and will be punished by the laws of nature. According to Srila Baladevi Vibhushan and Vedanta Deshika, the word Vasyam in this first mantra means that the material world is pervaded by the Lord. That means that the material energy cannot function independently. It is the Lord's presence that enables her to act. And the material energy is activated by his glance, by the glance of the Lord, Ikshita. So this was Mantra 1 and the Ishavasya principle. Mantra 2 explains what will happen if we decide to apply this Ishavasya concept in our life. If the human beings properly employ this Ishavasya concept, their actions will not bind them to the material world, and they will realize the personality of Godhead. Actions caused by selfish motives bring about good or bad reactions, or both, mixed reactions. Both of these good and bad reactions, they keep the conditioned soul trapped in the material world. We have to wait here until we experience the results of our good activities, and we have to wait until we suffer out the results of our bad activities. In both cases, we have to be here in the material world and suffer. On the other hand, when the activity is done according to the Lord's order and for His pleasure, it never produces material results, neither positive nor negative. That means that action by itself is not necessarily bad, provided the performer has the right consciousness. Just like Krishna tells Arjuna that he should always think of him, and at the same time he should carry out his prescribed duties of fighting. And with his activities dedicated to Krishna, and with his mind and intelligence fixed on Krishna, Arjuna will attain Krishna without a doubt. This is what Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita. So in the purport of this mantra 2, Srila Prabhupada explains the difference between karma, pious activities prescribed in the Vedas, vikarma, sinful activities, and akarma, work which does not produce good or bad reactions. The common people usually believe that every activity results in karmic bondage, and inactivity leads to liberation. However, according to Sri Isopanisad and Bhagavad Gita, liberation is achieved not by idleness, not by any inactivity, which is also impossible, but by action combined with knowledge, or the term used in Bhagavad Gita is Buddhi Yoga. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, for example, Arjuna wanted to avoid sinful reactions by resigning from his duty as a warrior and accepting an idle, non-active lifestyle. He wanted to become a mendicant, a beggar. In other words, Arjuna thought that by being passive he will break the chain of karmic action and reaction. But this is not possible. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that one cannot avoid action even for a moment, because he is all the time pushed by the three modes of material nature. We cannot remain inactive. Madhvacharya also confirms. He says that it is not true that by non-performance of action one is not bound in the world. Naradiya Purana says, if a man is ignorant and does not worship Krishna, then he incurs sin. Even if he is sage, jnani, and fails to worship the Lord, his bliss will definitely diminish. Thus, even a jnani who is free from sin becomes sinful by his neglect of worshipping Krishna. Therefore, everyone should perform action related to the Lord. In other words, everybody should serve the Lord. Even imperfectly applied, this Ishavasya principle brings an eternal benefit, as it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, a simple God-conscious person is considered superior to a puffed-up, wealthy atheist. As Srila Prabhupada explains, a humble God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal host of life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism, or any type of ism which is not connected to Krishna. In his purport to Mantra 2, Srila Baladev Vidibhushan equates the Ishavasya concept with following Varnashrama. Mantra 3. So we have explained the Ishavasya concept, we have explained what will happen if we follow the Ishavasya concept. We will be serving the Lord, we will be eternally happy and blissful, and our actions will not bound us to this world. Now Mantra 3 explains what will happen if we whimsically decide to disregard the Ishavasya concept. Depending on whether they obey the order of the Lord or not, all human beings are designated as Suras and Asuras. Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, human life is distinguished from animal life due to its heavy responsibilities. Those who are cognizant of these responsibilities and who work in that spirit are called Suras, godly persons, and those who are neglectful of those responsibilities or who have no information of them are called Asuras, demons. Throughout the universe there are only these two types of human beings. So we have a choice here. Krishna is very liberal. He gives us a choice. Do you want to be a devotee or you want to be a demon? And it seems that there is very little space in between, or no space in between at all. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes that there are 4 different types of asuras who do not surrender to him, and thus they waste their human form of life. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake in the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada in a lecture explains that everyone who does not accept Lord Shri Krishna must belong to one of the above mentioned four demoniac categories. Srila Prabhupada says, so our test is there. If one is not Krishna conscious, then he must be within these divisions. Naradama, Muda, Dushkritina, Maya Apakrita Jnana. And one who has surrendered to Krishna, then what he is? Samahatma Sudurlava. Samahatma Sudurlava means a great soul who is very rarely found. Although the atheists work very hard to achieve their selfish goals, they are never successful, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection, nor happiness, nor the supreme destination. On the other hand, even though a devotee might not be accomplished in his practice of devotional service, he is assured of success because he is protected by the Lord, as it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So, the Lord and His energies are perfect and complete. The Lord is the proprietor of everything, and we have to accept only our allotted quota and act very responsibly, act always in connection with Krishna. If we do this, then we will attain perfection, we will go back home, back to Godhead. If we don't do this, we will suffer forever in this material world. This is the summary of the invocation and mantras 1 to 3 of Sri Isopanisad.